Morning,
Yes,
everyone.
yes, now it's visible.
I'm Dr. Siddharth Bose, and I'll be speaking on managing small pupil for the beginners. Now, what is a small pupil? Is it a 2 millimeter pupil, 3 millimeter pupil, or a 4 millimeter pupil? Actually, the pupil size is relative to the surgeon's skill and technique, to the intraoperative situation and iris tissue properties. Most common mechanisms of small pupil formation are age-related, pseudoexfoliation syndrome, IFIS, intraoperative floppy iris syndrome, diabetes, and posterior synechiae in cases of uveitis or angle closure glaucoma or previous surgery. Now, the technical challenges that we face with small pupil are reduced red reflex, iris damage or bleeding, iris prolapse, small anterior axis size which can result in anterior capsular damage, post-op capsular phimosis, retained cortical material, and problems in ensuring in the bag IUL placement, and issues with proper alignment of toric IULs. Now, the stepwise approach that I follow in managing small pupils are first injecting phenylephrine intracamerally. If it doesn't help, then viscodilatation. If that also doesn't help, then posterior synecholysis followed by pupil stretching techniques, and lastly, pupil expansion devices. The pupil expansion devices that are commonly used are iris hooks, the Maligoin ring, and the BHEX. Now, the key points for decision making of which device to use during our surgery are whether we are doing phaco or SICS. In SICS, I prefer to do it with iris hooks. Phaco, I preferably use ring. The pupillary diameter, I generally use the BHEX ring, which cannot be used if the pupillary diameter is more than 5 millimeters. And also the biomechanical properties of the iris tissue. If the iris is too rigid, ring does not work well. In that case, iris hooks need to be used. I would like to speak something about the BHEX pupil expander, which was invented by Dr. Shubhen Bhattacharya from Kolkata. It is a very inexpensive tool that Shubhen sir has given us, and I use it widely in my practice. It has six phalanges and six notches. Three of the phalanges go underneath the iris, and three of them stay above, and it helps in forming a hexagonal enlarged pupil. The first case is the most basic technique, that is the iris hooks. I use this for my SICS cases. This is an old lady with subluxated lenses. I make 4 extra side ports in order to insert the iris hooks. Then I grab the iris hook with 2 McPherson forceps, go beyond the pupillary margin, and then tilt the iris hook vertically to engage the iris, and then push back the stopper. This is the second iris hook. First, we need to retract the stopper so that the iris hook can go inside intraocularly. And we put the iris hook in beyond the pupillary margin, tilt it vertically in order to engage the iris, and then push back the stopper. In this case, I'll be inserting 3 iris hooks instead of 4, so that I can prolapse the lens through the 4th corner. See, I'm prolapsing the nucleus through that unused area. Now when I am delivering the nucleus, I realize I am short of space. So here I pull out the obstructing iris hooks. I increase the size of the main incision and repeat the delivery process, and now I am successful. This is another SICS case of mine where I have used 4 iris hooks so that I can complete my rhexis and hydrodissection properly. This is a large, hard and black cataract, so I need a large rhexis. After that, I remove 2 iris hooks overlying the main incision so that I have enough space to deliver out the nucleus. Here you can see I am prolapsing the nucleus into the anterior chamber. It's a fairly large one. In cases like these, iris hooks or expansion devices make the surgery relatively easier, so it is always better to use these devices. Nucleus is delivered out. Now for phaco cases, I prefer to use the BHEX pupil expander. I hold the notch of the ring with the 23 gauge BHEX forceps and put it into the anterior chamber. I put viscoelastic underneath the iris. Through the right side port, I grab one of the phalanges, the one with the holes, and put it underneath the iris. We can dial the device using the Sinskey hook. Since this was my first BHEX case, I was a bit nervous and shaky, so I made a mistake here. I put both the subsequent phalanges under the iris, you can see, but that is not a problem. I took it out again. And placed it in the proper position. For the third phalange, I go in through the other side port and put it underneath the iris. The third one is a bit tricky because it causes a lot of traction on the pupil. And now we have a nicely dilated hexagonal pupil. Removing it is very easy. Do it under viscoelastic. I take out 2 phalanges from underneath the iris with the forceps through the side port and then prolapse the whole device into the anterior chamber and remove it through the main incision. It comes out easily. Now this is my second BHEX case where I am a lot more confident because I know that the device is a not completely non-traumatic one and easy to use. Although in contrary to what you see here, I would advise to use the forceps through the side ports and stabilize the globe with a second instrument to make the job much easier. Third phalange is always tricky, but with practice we all can manage to do it. In the next case, I'll demonstrate a uveitic small pupil where the pupil is a bit rigid. I first perform cyanolysis with the iris spatula. Then using the Coughlin hooks, I do stretch pupilloplasty, first at 180 degrees, then at 90 degrees to make the pupil more elastic. Following that, I go in with the BHEX pupil expander. Using the side port, I insert the first phalange underneath the iris. Then the second phalange goes underneath the iris. Then I use the other side port for the third phalange. In this, the third one is always a bit tricky in uveitic cases because the pupil is a bit rigid, but with practice we can all manage to do it. Now we have a nice dilated hexagonal pupil. In the next case, I'll demonstrate phaco without the use of any device in an eye with moderately small pupil. Phaco play a very important role in these cases. I have kept the bottle height low at 75 while doing phaco in order to avoid prolapsing of the iris. I am performing phaco mostly below the iris plane to avoid turbulence at the iris level. I give a lot of credit to this particular phaco machine because it has excellent surge management system. As a result, the AC is very stable. Now I'm performing the irrigation aspiration at normal bottle height. You can see that the chamber is very stable. If one is uncomfortable with performing phaco with low bottle height, you can always keep the AFR low also, so and do a slow phaco. In my last video demonstration, I will be showing an interesting case. You can see before beginning the pupil was normal size. I managed to do a large enough rhexis. But when I started doing phaco, there was flutter at the pupillary margins and the pupil slowly started reducing in size. Since this nucleus was a tough nut to crack, so there was a lot of manipulation and turbulence in the anterior chamber. As a result, as I went ahead with phaco, the pupil size was reducing more and more. So in this case, I decided to go slow with my phaco. I kept the phaco probe mostly underneath the iris plane. I was operating very slowly, and this you can see after doing the phaco, the size of the pupil. Now while doing the IA, since I cannot visualize all the cortex, I use the irrigation cannula to retract the iris so that I can visualize the cortical matter and remove them one by one. I go slow, I don't rush. The trick here is to go slow while implanting the IOL also. Do it slowly under viscoelastic, and so that we can get a good outcome. Thank you very much. In conclusion, follow the stepwise approach that I discussed earlier. To make the decision to use the pupil expansion device, always take into consideration the size of the pupil and the biomedical properties of the iris, and never be afraid to use the devices as they make the surgery much safer. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. Siddharth is not there, and any discussion, any question?
Yeah, Aurukda, in a BHEX device, I've been using BHEX now, and I love the device. But what I've noted that in uveitic and very rigid pupils, sometimes a BHEX might not be ideal. He has beautifully demonstrated that with a Kruglan's hook or a Y pusher, we sometimes push it and then we try. But even then, maybe if the pupil is very rigid, then BHEX fails. This is one observation which I've seen in my practice, number one. And number two, using a BHEX is really good when it's a very shallow anterior chamber.
Yes.
Instead of a hook, in a BHEX is very good in a shallow anterior chamber. I've mentioned it. And usually a OVD, which is good enough, especially if you use a viscot, I have no financial interest, then it is good to put a BX in. If you are putting it in HPMC, it's little difficult as it comes out, since we have to manipulate from the left side and then from the right side for the 3 phalanges. So if you're using an OVD which will maintain a chamber stability, even if it is shallow, the stability matters. So that is better in that case. But the videos are excellent for Siddharth, young ophthalmologist upcoming. His videos are excellent. I have to appreciate that.
Even in cases where the pupil is semi-dilated and which might dilate more if you have put something or if it's not adequately dilated preoperatively, then the BX becomes a bit slacky and it tends to move.
And I just want to know, if you have ever faced a BHEX getting wriggled up with the IOL, or do you remove it before?
Yes. And you should always inject the IOL under viscoelastic.
Exactly.
Not
yes,
under
that's irrigation. A tip. That's a tip from an expert that you have to put it, because otherwise
the fluid will go beyond the iris and it will balloon the iris and it will make things very difficult.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I want to add one point.
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Bhattacharya himself, he doesn't advocate VX string in case of rigid pupil, because in rigid pupil, it causes stretching of the dilator pupil and ending up in a dilated pupil post-operatively. So our old
That in any
book
case
is
is going to happen. The moment you dilate the pupil, you stretch the pupil, it's going to happen. So you can't stop it.
yes, that
It's going to happen.
yes.
Okay. So we go to the last case, last presentation. I'm going to present.
I had just a question.
Okay, sure. Carry on.
Does anyone, sir, you have experience with the thing that I do not have any financial interest, but Entod had come up with a Phenocaine plus intracameral injection.
Yes.
So how does it work?
Yeah, I am using it and I'm quite satisfied with that.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Not
Shivashish?
regarding the pupil dilatation, but you
Then
can
regarding
use it.
what? Why will you
Then
use it?
regarding what?
Achha, then regarding if you are not using, you don't want to use Oculan, in that case you can use that.
Oh,
That's fine.
intraocular. Okay.
Intraocular.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
No,
But
for the dilatation part,
for the dilatation
does it
part, I have done only 6 cases with that. Last week only I started. I need some more time to see whether it works in a really small pupil.
yes, Shivashish, can I add? Arupda, can I add
Yeah,
one line?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I have used few cases. What I have felt that pupils which will dilate with Tropicacil plus or any, again, no interest, like normal dilators will dilate well with Phenocaine, but pupils which are not going to dilate otherwise will give difficulty even with Phenocaine. So that you have to judge. That you have to judge before using.
Yeah.
It's not 100% true.
I'm not very happy with Phenocaine. I've used it in 4-5 cases. Till now, I'm not very convinced about its use.
Actually, I haven't used the brand Phenocaine. I have used another brand which has come up in the last 7 or 10 days.
Okay.
I have used it.